Welcome to the WP Builds podcast, bringing you the latest news from the WordPress community. Now, welcome your hosts, David Wormsley and Nathan Wrigley.
Hello there and welcome once again to the WP Builds podcast. You've reached episode number 306, entitled Application and Database Hosting at Kinsta. It was published on Thursday, the 1st of December, 2022. My name's Nathan Wrigley, and just before we begin, a few bits of housekeeping. The main thing to say is our Black Friday deals page is still going strong, although Black Friday has been and gone, as has Cyber Monday. Loads of the deals run right into the heart of December. Some of them actually don't finish until January, but only a few. So the URL for that page, if you're still keen to find some Black Friday deals, is wpbuilds.com/black. One more time, wpbuilds.com/black. Go there and search for your favourite WordPress plugin. The other thing to mention is our Mastodon install. When I started talking about Mastodon, I had to explain what it was. Now I feel Mastodon is in the common vernacular, so no explanations required. If you fancy joining our instance of Mastodon, you can find it at wpbuilds.social. That's wpbuilds.social, and come and join up and make that your Fediverse home. The WP Builds podcast was brought to you today by GoDaddy Pro. GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL, and 24/7 support. Bundle that with The Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place. Invoice clients and get 30% off new purchases. You can find out more by heading to go.me/WP Builds. That's go.me/WP Builds. And we thank GoDaddy Pro most sincerely for their continuing support of the WP Builds podcast. Okay, what have we got on the show for you today? Well, we have two fine people, Marcel Bootsman and Maciek Palmowski. They are both here from Kinsta, and they're telling us something new about Kinsta. It may well be that you've heard of Kinsta as a managed WordPress hosting company. They've been doing that for years and years now with a very good reputation. Well, they've decided to stretch a little further, and today's episode is, as I said, entitled Application and Database Hosting at Kinsta, and that tells you everything you need to know. They've decided to move out of just serving WordPress customers into serving any kind of application at all. Marcel's been working there for a while. Maciek has recently joined and brings his expertise to the service. And so you're going to hear today about what that move means. What's happening to the old Kinsta? Is it changing? Are they putting WordPress into second place? Well, no, they make it pretty clear that that's not the case. What kind of things can you add over there? How's it going to be done in the future? What kind of events are they going to be involved in? And for a company as important as Kinsta in the WordPress space, I hope this makes entertaining listening. I am joined on the podcast today by Marcel Bootsman and Maciek Palmowski. How are you doing, guys?
I'm great.
Thank you, Nathan.
Firstly, Marcel and Maciek, did I get your names correct?
Yeah, you pronounce this pretty good. Marcel Bootsman, that's how I say it. So you match that.
Okay. Maciek?
And I can also say that you are doing better and better with every time I'm on your show. So it's really
this
good.
is good. It's definitely an improvement. Right, the guys are here today to talk to us about the company that they work for. They're both currently working at Kinsta. We don't really need to describe what Kinsta has been doing in the past. I'm sure that you're familiar with the company. It's very... Well, I mean, you're always at the WordPress events. People are always talking about Kinsta and so on and so forth. But essentially, it's a managed WordPress hosting company. We're going to talk today a little bit about something new that they've got involved in. Before we do that, a bit of orientation about who you are. I think we'll go to Marcel first, just for the benefit of the listeners. Will you just give us a little bit of a rundown about your background in tech, WordPress, hosting, and all of that? You can go as far back as you like.
Okay, let's start in 1975. No, okay, that was the year I was born. I'll skip a few years. I started my professional career at IBM as a developer, a Java developer, basically. Um, After about, I'm gonna go through this very quickly. After about 9, 10 years, I had the feeling I needed to start my own company to be like free and flexible in where I work and when I work. So I started my own company, started building WordPress websites, doing maintenance, those kinds of things. Got involved into the WordPress community, helped organize WordCamps in the Netherlands, in Europe, in Rotterdam, and after about 9, 10 years again, I got itches again about my professional career. What do I do with my company? Do I start hiring people to grow? Do I start, well, how do you say that? Hiring other people to do projects for me? I wasn't sure. And at a certain moment, I thought, okay, maybe I'm ready to start working for a company again, but then like the way I operated my own company. Flexible work times, flexible work place, and Kinsta was a great match. So I decided to contact Kinsta, and well, that's been 2.5 years ago now, and I'm a marketing manager for the Dutch market.
Thank you. Can you just tell us before we move on to Maciek, what is it about the Kinsta way of doing things that is flexible? What flexibility they give you that made them the right fit for you?
The flexibility Kinsta gives me is, as I stated a bit, work when you want, as long as you get the job done. Work where you want. And basically, Kinsta is what I've known now for 2.5 years, is a very good employer, as in they take care of their employees. They make sure you have the right equipment to work with. They make sure you follow courses to upgrade some skills or learn new skills. And they basically just take care of their employees very good. And that's what I really appreciate. Plus, it also gives me, I still have the idea I'm working for my own company. I'm flexible. I work whenever I want, just doing different jobs than when I was running my own company. And it feels great. And also the atmosphere between colleagues, we are all skilled people. We can learn a lot from each other, and that's what we do. And that makes us serving our clients even a better task.
Thank you. That's really interesting to learn. Now, obviously, the Kinsta, whatever it is that they're doing at Kinsta, it's having the right effect, because Maciek's been on the podcast a number of times, especially on the show that we do on a Monday, the This Week in WordPress show. And very recently, Maciek announced that he was moving over to Kinsta. I can't honestly say how long ago that was. It feels like it would have been about 3 months ago or something, Maciek. But you're now over at Kinsta. How are you enjoying it?
It's really amazing. I'm constantly surprised how well everything works. I mean, I had the chance to work at different companies, and right now I'm in the middle of, like, let's call it kind of a cultural shock. Everything is so well organized, and it's just amazing. It's amazing. So
Oh, well, I'm really pleased that it's working out for you. That's great. Can you do the same thing that Marcel did? Go back to 1975 and tell us tell us a little bit about your background and whatnot, and how you ended up.
So
in the WordPress
I will
space.
I will skip already 10 years, because I was born in 85. So that's
Now I feel
that's the
old.
first thing.
Yes.
But to be honest, my IT career started quite quickly, because long time ago, my dad, during those hard communism years, bought a ZX Spectrum, and he was trying to learn it. And I was just a small child that could only just sit on his lap and, well, do nothing, because I was a child. But I was watching what he's doing on the monitor. It was probably this green monitor, as back then. And I knew, going to primary school, I already knew I will work at IT. I just wasn't sure where. And at some point, it just got clear that I will be a developer. I learned about something called PHP. At some point, I, of course, tried to build my own CMS. I think every developer has this stage. Then I learned that there is something called open source, and well, there are already made CMSs like WordPress. It was so greatly documented and it was so easy to learn, and I started using it. Later, I learned about it also has a community which is so great, so open, and at some point, I also helped organizing a WordCamp in my hometown. It was WordCamp Łódź in 2019. And yeah, for most of my career, I was a developer. I was writing different things for WordPress plugins, themes, some other weird stuff. But at some point, I decided to make a small change, and I went into this DevRel thing. So I am this link between developers of multiple companies. First, I work as a DevRel at Buddy, and when I saw that there is a chance to go to Kinsta to do a similar thing, yeah, I just made a switch, and they wanted me, so here I am.
What's your role now then at Kinsta, Maciek?
This is a funny thing because I have such a long title. I always have to open my Slack to read it, because I always introduce myself. Hi, my name is Maciek Palmowski. I work as a DevRel at Kinsta, but my full title is Development Advocate Analyst.
Okay, that's good to know. So you've completely derailed me on this podcast now because you said the word ZX Spectrum, and that's it.
Oh, same here.
I'm totally
Same
gone.
here.
I had a ZX Spectrum. I had a ZX 80. I had a ZX 81. I had a ZX Spectrum, and I used to love. I mean, surprising. You imagine that thing had 48K. I was showing my son the other day some images of a game called Night Law, which you could play on the Spectrum. It was the first time I'd ever seen 3D on a computer, and I showed it to my son, and he literally fell about laughing. I was really pleased that somebody had got a YouTube video of Night Law on the Spectrum, and he just thought it was hysterical how things have moved on now. Anyway, we won't talk any more about the ZX Spectrum because that's not what we're here to talk. I know, I'm so sorry. We're going to talk about Kinsta.
Sorry, I just wanted to brag that I have also a floppy disk drive. So. If I can brag about something about it. So yeah, I have a floppy disk drive.
Do you remember in the day, the ZX Spectrum, you had to actually use a cassette, and it would load a game which would typically take about 3 or 4 minutes. And, you know, if there was any imperfection in the cassette or the connection was broken, the whole game would fail to load. And honestly, children nowadays, they don't know they're born.
They don't know the struggles we had and the noise.
Yes,
the noise.
right.
I still hear that noise. You know, I had a ZX Spectrum too. Played a lot of games on it.
Yeah.
Had a lot of tapes.
Yeah,
and,
it was like
that
background
noise.
interference, wasn't it? And there'd be these little sort of beeps which would indicate that it was about to load something, and then
Exactly.
you get
You
this
got
crackly
these-
noise. Yeah,
The crackly noise and the crackly screen, like with
Yeah.
all these stripes
That's
and colors.
right.
Well, okay.
yeah. Anyway, let's talk about
Anyway.
Kinsta. So, as I said at the top of the show, Kinsta has been in business for a very long time. Managed WordPress hosting company, supports the WordPress cause a lot. I would imagine Kinsta, although I obviously don't have access to the books, I imagine Kinsta is very successful because you don't do what Kinsta is about to do and you're going to learn about unless things are going well. So in the very recent past, Maciek's joined, Marcel's been there for a while, but you've got a new product, a new arm of the business, if you like, application and database hosting at Kinsta. That's the broad title. I hope I've got that right.
You got that right.
Yeah, let's go to Marcel first and ask, right, why the move away from purely WordPress, and when did this begin? How long has this been in development? Is it fully mature yet? So just give us basically an overview of what application and database hosting is at Kinsta.
Sure, I can. Okay, in 1975. Sorry,
This is
sorry
great.
about that. When exactly did this start? I first have to clear something up. We are not moving away from WordPress, not at all.
Thank you.
WordPress is currently probably 99.9% of our customer base because we just launched the new service. We are not moving away to taking away that concern for people that are listening. we are expanding. And as Nathan said, we are expanding to application and database hosting because we see from a business perspective, you want to grow. And if you want to keep growing, you need to be able to grow your customer base and the number of sites you run, or application and databases in the last case. And we are seeing, like, how do you say that? The growth of WordPress is declining. It's not market share of WordPress is not declining, but the growth is declining, decreasing. So, and that's been happening a few years maybe, and our management really saw, okay, what are we going to do if we want to keep growing as a company? What do we need to do to be able to support that growth? And if you bet on one horse, what we did, of course, in the last almost 13 years, there is a risk, and the risk was taken away by so many people that are doing so many wonderful things with WordPress, and so many people are running a website on it. But in the case people are moving away from WordPress, that would mean that we would have less potential clients. So then a few years back, management already talked about this, and we're thinking about, okay, what do we do next to WordPress to be able to grow our company more than what we're doing right now? And application and database hosting was born. We had a code name internally, which I cannot share, but that was talked about a lot, and a lot of people in the company were invited to help brainstorm. What do we want to do? We talked to clients about it. Do you host anything other than WordPress? What would we need to do to have you host that on our systems? And that really gave us enough material to start building. And we hired a lot of people to start building this, because it was not only a redesign of our Kinsta dashboard, our management dashboard for company owners, but it was also a complete new stack, a complete new product next to our WordPress stack we have built on top of Google Cloud. So we actually had external funding for this, which was the first external funding we had, with a lot of strict rules around it. And we could use that funding to hire a lot of people and start building and designing the application and database hosting.
That's really interesting. So was that a round of funding that Kinsta went through in order to build this platform? In other words, the money that has gone into creating the application and database, that's come from elsewhere. It hasn't been siphoned out of let's say, the WordPress managed hosting pot. It's a different pot altogether.
No, exactly. Yeah, you're right. In the past, like all the profits we made went back into innovating new stuff on the WordPress platform. And what we have done right now is, if we wanted to launch this new application and database hosting service fast. We didn't want to wait 3-4 years before we would launch it, because then we would probably be too late. And in order to do that, you need a lot of people, and of course you need a lot of money to pay those people to do what we want them to do. And that's what we did. So we used that money. I'm not sure how many we used. That's not important right now, but we used it to support the people that work on the new product, and to make it possible that we launch it within an acceptable term for us.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So on the inside of Kinsta, and you may be able to talk about this, you may not. There's maybe constraints about what you're allowed to say. I don't know. Is there a real division between the people that are working on the application and database side and the WordPress side, or is there a complete, overlap? For example, could you, Marcel, and you, Maciek, could you be moved into WordPress for a little while and then back into the managed application database hosting side of things?
That's a good question. Maciek, do you know anything about that in your short time that you've joined us?
From my perspective, it looks like this is exactly the thing that Marcel mentioned at the beginning. We are not going away from WordPress. It's still a big part of us. So every time we think about something, we think about it in general. So there is no division between it. Our application and database hosting is just another product. So whenever we think about anything new, we always take in account everything. Also WordPress, because yeah, it's important.
Yeah, I guess if if you've got customers of Kinsta listening to this, that's the kind of thing they like to know, isn't it? How much of the staffing, how much of the revenue, how much of the everything is going to be going into this new venture, because I've come and I want my managed WordPress hosting side of things. I want to make sure that that's as it's always been. And yeah, so that's interesting. Interesting conversation about the fact that you've received some venture funding for that. That's good.
Exactly, and nothing is going to change on the WordPress side. Sorry, and what we are pretty known for our support, which is fast and helps you to get to a solution pretty fast. And we want every service we launch, we want every service to have that kind of support. So that's why we always also needed new people to support our application and database hosting stack, and to get to the same level of support people are used to in the managed WordPress area.
So the idea of application and database hosting is not really a new idea. That you could Google that exact term, and I'm sure you'd probably end up with a very long list of companies that you could go to. So there's two things to that, really. The first thing is you're entering into a space which probably already has a fair degree of competitiveness attached to it. So there's rivals out there that you've been able to look at, view their product, and sort of think, okay, we like that bit, but we don't like that bit. This is good. We enjoy using that, but not so much that. In other words, you've come in at a time when the industry has already matured to some extent, but it's competitive. So you know where this is going. The question has got to be, what is it that makes you different? And different is maybe the wrong word. What is it that makes you something worth looking at? Maybe there is no difference. It's just that you think that there's an MVP, that that there's some reason why people should choose Kinsta over the rivals. What is it that you've got to say on that?
I would say that there are a few things. So first of all, let's remember that yes, there are many companies already who are on the market longer than us. They have they are in a bit better position when it comes to experience when it in the cloud. But still, when I was comparing us with them, I see few main differences. First of all, well, we also have WordPress hosting. This is also something because there are many companies that are interested in hosting everything in one place. And when you look at how easy it is to host WordPress websites on Kinsta, this can be probably one of the things that will lead the clients to us. So they will have everything in one place. Another thing is the support part. Because while maybe we are not the cheapest when it comes to pricing, we include many things within the price. For example, the support. I don't think there are many companies that also have this 24 hours per whole weekend extra support for free, just included in the hosting tier. So this is another thing, and the database hosting. It's also a thing that not everyone provides. So with all of those three things, I think those are the biggest differences. Those are the things in which we stand out from the crowd.
Okay, thank you.
But also, it's because it's also worth to say that in some point, technically, most cloud hosting companies are kind of similar because we all are using similar technologies. For example, build packs are used on many clouds, and that's normal. I think that we are at this point of cloud hosting where it will be much more difficult to stand out in technical terms, but in everything non-technical, like support, like having a bit broader a list of things we can host and so on.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's really interesting. I like the piece about the WordPress being a great way of drawing customers in, because they're in your dashboard, and it may be that they want to, expand not away from WordPress, but expand into some other thing, and it's all there. So that leads me to the question: how do I actually view all of this? Where are my applications held? Do I have to have a separate Kinsta account for other things that are not WordPress, or can I access everything just with one username and password? In other words, I'm really just after describe how the UI works. From now on, do I need 2 accounts, 1 account? How does it work?
You only need 1 account. We are used to having a dashboard that makes it easy for our clients to use it. So having other credentials or another system to manage this was never on the table. From the first conversations we talked about this internally, we already knew we had to integrate this in MyKinsta, and that's exactly what happened. MyKinsta got a major overhaul, I believe last 3 weeks or a month ago, to support the move or the expansion, I have to say, to application and database hosting, to be just another option in another section in the MyKinsta dashboard. So now, instead of looking at sites, you look at WordPress sites and you look at applications, which also has the databases under it.
Right. So there's a real clear demarcation between everything WordPress and everything that's, well, non-WordPress, shall we say. Okay, that makes sense.
Exactly.
One database, and following the sort of UI that people have become familiar with in Kinsta. Okay, that's great.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's lovely. Okay, so a question dawns upon me, and it is to do with the nature of Kinsta as a company and how the data is stored and what have you. They will know you, everybody, as a hosting company, but they may not know about the tech stack which is behind that. When you say hosting company, you typically imagine that they have computers of their own in racks in data centers, and those computers are owned by them, operated by them, and that is their hosting. That's not really the case with you, is it? You are all in on Google's cloud, I think.
That's correct. Maciek, can you dive into this one? I can also, but I'd love to share the how do you say that? The time we talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, we are hosted on Google Cloud. We have access to how many? Oh, we have about 24 data centers. So it's a lot of them, and yes, we are using those fastest C2 machines, so they are one of the of the best available there. And in one way, I could say that yes, that's it. What to say, because the part about hosting right now is that most companies are using other vendors that support those enormous clouds that are all over the world. And we don't have any rack at our company. So
okay, so it's all held on Google's cloud. So that was the WordPress side of things. Is the same true on the application and database side of things?
Yes,
in other words,
exactly.
Right. So everything Google. Okay, good. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
correct.
there is no change.
Yeah. Okay. Do we know? Do we have any insight? So this is obviously going back a long time. When Kinsta started, I'm going to guess that Google was the choice then, as it is now. Maybe that isn't the case. Maybe over the years you moved into Google and are happy there, and that's why you're over there now. But I do wonder, what is it about the Google Cloud that makes it compelling for you guys to be with them? Is there a sort of difference that you know? Is it just you've got a nice relationship with them? Is there a particular piece of tech, or is the hardware different? Do they update their stack of things periodically? Why Google's cloud over all the other myriad? I mean, I can think of a handful off the top of my head, but why Google?
Yeah, there are a lot of competitors in the cloud hosting region. We picked Google not basically because Google offers us fast machines, like Maciek said. We use those C2 machines which are the fastest machines people can use. We also use Google Cloud because they have their own premium network infrastructure. which makes it faster for, well, the bits and bytes to move from one place to another. And of course, at a certain point, if you go into the physical layer of the network, you go to a country's network, so then it's out of Google's hand. But the first piece is Google Premium Network, and that also helps getting, well, data as fast as possible from A to B. And those are basically the strongest arguments that we picked Google Cloud for. And also, it is the amount of data centers they have, because, well, I wanted to say we all know, but I'm not assuming that we all know. So, but if you have multiple data centers spread around the world, you offer your clients the possibility to host their websites, sometimes in their own country, sometimes in a neighboring country, but which is especially important to get a website as close to the visitors/clients as possible. Also to make it possible for the fastest loading times.
Yeah, so essentially Kinsta is a layer between the complexity of Google's cloud, because whilst you could set up your WordPress website on Google's cloud, good luck with that. You're going to be,
Exactly.
it really is going to take you quite a considerable amount of time. And honestly, if you've got the technical capability to do that, then you go for that. But Kinsta's promise is we will deliver you this bleeding edge technology spread throughout the world in data centers close to where your clients are actually viewing the pages, but you don't have to trouble with any of that. You just click some buttons, fill in some fields, and we're off to the races. That's what Kinsta does, right?
Yeah, that's basically it, and exactly what you say. If you are technically able to launch your own stack on Google Cloud, go ahead. But it's not just the setting up part; it's also the managing it and keeping up with updates and keeping your platform updated. Those are a lot of tasks that you need to do as a systems operator in that case.
Yeah.
We do that for you.
Yeah. I'm going to direct this question at Marcel, because you mentioned at the beginning of the show that you are specifically looking at the marketing piece in Kinsta. So I guess I want to ask you, who are these new customers? What kind of things are they doing? So in the past, Kinsta's target audience was very defined. It was basically anybody that needed a WordPress website. We can handle that for you, and we can do it easily and in a nice, beautiful UI. Now, your role, I guess, is to reach out into a much bigger pool of potential customers, not just WordPress people, but you're going to have to be finding all sorts of other customers as well. Who are these people? What are they doing? What are they installing? What are they hosting? Hopefully.
Well, actually, the launch of this new services at Kinsta has also launched a lot of extra new work for me, which is great because I get to discover new leads/clients who want to host their applications or database at Kinsta. And basically it starts in my role as a marketing manager here in the Dutch market, so that's Netherlands and a piece of Belgium. Because it's geographically, small, if you compare it, for instance, to the US or Canada or whatever, I get to visit our clients. And because it takes me a half hour to an hour to reach our clients, and I can just sit in their offices, talk to them about how they experience Kinsta. And one of the questions that I have been asking them, like in the last year, because of course we knew this launch was coming, is what do you do besides WordPress? And then a whole lot of applications came up, like the ones we probably all know, like PHP applications, Node, Go, or whatever, Python maybe. Those were applications people are also running. And so in the first few months, I think the focus is on agencies that have a different stack next to their WordPress stack, which is already hosted at Kinsta. And that enables us to onboard these clients onto our new platform and to learn from them, to tailor it. And then afterwards, or actually during this process, we are also expanding our, how do you say that, our tentacles, like to other communities, because we were mainly focused at the WordPress community, which is, well, logical because we focus on WordPress. But now we need to broaden that, and maybe Maciek can tell you something more about that.
Yeah, this is also a bit why I was hired to the company, because for
Yes.
this long time
Yep.
it was a bit. I mean, maybe not that it was easier, but we had one target. It was WordPress developer, WordPress user, and right now we had to like change everything, because it's not only about adding new servers, it's about how to announce it, how to talk with those people. Because for example, uh, me and Marcel are part of the WordPress community. We know it. We know how it works. We know it quirks and everything. It's we are like a big family, right? Because
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, we are all meeting at the same WordCamps, also together with Nathan. So we are more of a family. And right here, uh, we don't know all of the communities. We don't know all of the people. We are also learning about this, learning how to how each community reacts to different things. So yeah, this is going to be something very interesting for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it strikes me that not only is it a different crowd of people, so, I imagine it over the last, let's say, 10 years or so, it was fairly easy for Kinsta to decide which real world events they would have sent their staff to. The top of the list is probably anything that starts with WP or WordCamp. Those are,
Yeah.
they really are the target. Whereas now there'll be all sorts of cloud conventions that you need to attend, and all manner of different things. So there's that side, the sort of industry side of things, but also I'm imagining that there's just end users that you're going to have to kind of learn what they want. So the promise previously was dead simple: come to Kinsta, and once you've got an account and you've clicked a few buttons, there's your website. It's all taken care of. Now it's going to be a whole myriad of things, a soup of different things. Do you want this particular application? Are you going to be using Docker? Are you going to be using Node? There'll be 1,000 different questions to ask. And so, yeah, I imagine it'll become a bit more of a, how to describe it, more of a challenge to decide who your target market is.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
great
that's
soup,
true.
by the way.
Yeah. Kinsta soup.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I've just christened a new name.
No, no, you're right, Nathan. It opens up a lot of new questions and a lot of new processes, both for us as Kinsta, but also for our clients. And our mission is to make it as easy as possible for, well, our WordPress clients, but also for our application and database clients to be able to host what they want at Kinsta, and to have a hosting stack they are familiar with, and an administration like my Kinsta dashboard, that enables our clients to host everything at one place. And I've talked to a lot of clients here in the Netherlands, and they really appreciate having things under one roof.
Yep. Okay, so if we talk about what's happened so far, the product has launched. We had a little chat before I click record, and we're not exactly sure when the beta label is coming off. It may be off already. We're recording this podcast towards the very end of 2022, so things said now, if this podcast is actually aired in 2023, there may be slight variation on pricing and variation on the products that are available. But I'm guessing you already have some customers. There's some people who are currently using it. What sort of things are they actually doing? What applications are they using? So we know WordPress, that's a given. But on the application and database side, what things are people actually implementing?
We see that first of all they are trying a lot when it comes to different Jamstack frameworks. So we've already prepared some starter kits, so you can try just install Astro, Gatsby, Decosaurus just by cloning one GitHub repository. We also are trying and testing more of them even right now we have some talks happening with other frameworks about some partnerships. So for sure, Jamstack is one of the things that users are playing around with. Also, thanks to the fact that users can use our database hosting, like just a database hosting, and this is something that is quite useful for many people, because they are hosting their application somewhere else, but they just need a database, and
okay.
that's where
Yep.
where we come in. They can use either MySQL, MariaDB. I think we also have Postgres. So this is also the thing we see that people are using, and for sure we are constantly looking at new options. I mean, this is one of my favorite weekly tasks, to try to install something new, try to play around with something new, to check if it works, how it works, and what can we do to make it simpler to install. For example, right now I'm playing around with how to use Dino on our application hosting, and I can say that it works. It works.
Nice. The target market, I'm guessing, for Kinsta, I could be wrong about this, but it feels to me that the target market until now has very much been, well, obviously WordPress users, but also WordPress users who just want things to work and for things to be easy. So, you know, you come to Kinsta, you click some buttons, there's your website. You don't need to worry yourself too much with the complexities in the background. I guess that's maybe shifted a little bit, because the things that you're talking about there, Maciek, they're not necessarily the domain of the non-technical. So are you going to be heading towards non-technical implementations? You know, I'm going to use the words one click. So the ability to do things one click. In other words, is this going to be just for technically minded people who work with technical things that they need to achieve, or are you going to be hopefully heading towards things where, well, non-technical people can just come and say, well, I'd like to try this out, click some buttons in the dashboard, and there is my, I don't know, Mastodon install. There is my whatever it may be install.
I think we can make a, sorry, Maciek, I just have one thing to add. I think we need to make a distinction between technical people and technical people that want to know everything about their hosting stack. Because if you are technical, as in building applications, you don't necessarily need to be aware of what would be the best platform to run your application or how to configure that. So that's the task we take away from them. And now back to you, Maciek.
Yeah, this is also the thing that I wanted to mention, that I see that Kinsta is going to be like the easiest way to host things that are more difficult than WordPress. So for sure, playing around with many of those applications will require more knowledge than just to install WordPress. But we will try to get rid of everything that is complicated when it comes to installing it in the cloud. I mean, even the fact that we are this layer between Google Cloud and the client. I mean, I played around with the Google Cloud at some point. I consider myself as a person who knows how to do things when it comes to deploying application, and for some reason I would never ever want to do it on my own. I really always would prefer to use a service like Kinsta, for example, because I have really much more fun things to do rather than fighting with setting up the cloud, all the privileges and everything.
Yeah, and also you've got to imagine that people who are bringing applications and databases to bear with you, there's definitely an incentive to have it working 24/7. without you needing to work on it 24/7, if you know what I mean. Your job there is to refine the tech stack or develop the application or whatever it may be, not to worry about the database. So it's curious. I do think it'll be an interesting journey over the next 18, 24 months, whatever it may be, seeing what these new clients look like, what their expectations are in terms of SLAs, in terms of the kind of documentation that you've got to provide, the kind of blog posts that you've now going to be writing in order to get the SEO and all of that kind of stuff. It feels like Kinsta is about to undergo some, really, really interesting change in the near future.
Yeah, I think we are, and we're happy to talk about it within 18 or 24 months again, Nathan, if you would like that.
Nice. Let's see how it's gone. I think I've asked all of my questions. I don't want to dwell too much on your time. So I'll just ask firstly, is there anything that we dramatically missed that you think we should have targeted? Let me ask that first.
No, I think we gave a nice overview for our listeners to introduce our new services.
Yeah.
And of course, they can find everything on kinsta.com and check it out.
Yeah,
that was my small plug here.
An added bonus, we got to talk about spectrums as well, which was, that's made my week.
Ooh, yeah.
Marcel, I'll do you first. Where can we find you online? What's the best place? Social platforms or Twitter or
you
whatever?
You can find me on my website, marcelbootsman.nl. It has all my social media profiles on there, also my Mastodon profile, which is gaining a lot of traction right now. So marcelbootsman.nl, that's where you can find me.
Okay, thank you. And Maciek?
You can find me either on Twitter, I'm on Palmiak FP, or on my website, maciekpalmowski.dev.
Maciek and Marcel, I really appreciate you talking to us all about Kinsta's new horizon on the podcast today. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Nathan.
so much,
Glad
Nathan.
to be here.
Okay, that's it. I hope that you enjoyed the podcast today. Very nice to chat with Marcel and Maciek all about what's happening over at Kinsta. If you've got any comments about that, feel free to head over to wpbuilds.com, search for episode number 306, and from there you can leave a comment. Alternatively, you can go to our Facebook group, wpbuilds.com/Facebook. And don't forget our Mastodon install, wpbuilds.social, and you can join up there and leave some comments there as well. The WP Builds podcast was brought to you today by GoDaddy Pro. GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL, and 24/7 support. Bundle that with the Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place. Invoice clients and get 30% off new purchases. You can find out more by going to go.me/WP Builds. And we thank GoDaddy Pro for their continuing support of the WP Builds podcast. Okay, that's it for this particular show. Don't forget we have our This Week in WordPress show. It's live every Monday. We repackage it and send it out as a podcast episode on Tuesday. If you want to subscribe to the podcast, wpbuilds.com/subscribe will enable you to do that. And join us for that show on Monday. Like I say, it's live, 2 p.m. UK time. We'll be back next Thursday, and I'll be chatting to David Wormsley in one of the final episodes of our WordPress Business Bootcamp series. Okay, I have some rock cheesy music for you this week. I hope that you enjoy that. All that remains for me to say is, I hope you have a good week. Stay safe. Bye-bye for now.